Um,
Hey, everybody.
yeah. So welcome to another dry run and special guest host. We have OnyxRose with us today. So thank you so much for joining us, OnyxRose. I appreciate it. And
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
yeah. And we're going to talk about Ballroom. We're going to talk about, it's going to be a blitz on Ballroom. We're going to discuss the film Paris is Burning in 1990 documentary about a scene that had existed long before that documentary, but was made hyperly aware and famous through it. But we'll talk a little bit about that and what the different categories were and what they mean, and possibly talk about a comparison or contrast the realness categories in Ballroom with the concept of passing within the trans community, and how those are different. I'm also going to mention that the reason that Autumn is not here with us tonight, and it breaks my heart to say this, but Autumn was recently diagnosed with a rather serious cancer, and so we are more concerned with her treatment and getting her less pain than we are with having her on the show right now. But she'll be back. We're just going to give her some space and send her lots of love. And I think she knows how important she is to me. So, but I certainly will be praying for her. And I don't think that it's time to pray, but it's time to pray. You know what I mean? And so I appreciate that she's here with us in the live chat. And I miss you. And we'll talk afterwards. So basically, I don't know how much you want me to go into it, Autumn. Do you want me to go into it more, or do you want to talk about it? I know it's your story, so I don't want to. Anyway, all right. So what we're going to talk about then today is we normally go into some news stories. There's not much really to report here, other than I can tell that Marie Gusenkamp Perez is in the Washington's third is a bit scared because she's really hitting the airwaves with her commercials. And Brent Henrich, the challenger of that party from the left side of Marie Gusenkamp Perez, has looks like he has sort of a path that he's rather proud of and has been touting. And so I just want to mention that. And for us here in Portland, of course, Pride is in July. So July 12th, we're going to be having Pride in the park, and that's with Southwest Washington Area Pride Association. And so I'll be there for that. I'm a member of that. I'm on the board, so we'll be there. And then, of course, there's the Pride in Portland, which is coming up too. And there are a number of different side events related to trans issues, trans marches, trans rights that I will be posting on regularly as they come up, because I think those are important considering where things are right now politically. So those are specific or trans rights related marches that I'll be posting about those and giving those lots of publicity, I guess, for lack of a better word, of course. All right, so thank you for letting me babble there, Onyx. I haven't even asked you how you are, OnyxRose. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I can't complain. Hi, Autumn. I think Autumn did say that you can go ahead and tell the story if you'd like. I can't complain.
Yeah, it's a different show for us. This is obviously not the way things we'd expected. Autumn has been having some back pain issues and some coughing, and she had lost some significant weight that we were all very proud of her for. But and she was having some pain, and on Tuesday, I believe it was Tuesday, maybe it was Monday or something. We had to call an ambulance for her so that they could come and get her, and so they took her to the hospital and they ran some tests, which she had been long needing. And that's not for her fault. It's just that we don't often. Anyway, there's an issue related to the healthcare we get, generally speaking, when it's not through specialists in our care. In any event, they did some tests, and she has stage 4 lung cancer. It's in her left upper lung and her spine, her pelvis, and her thigh, and some other organs, lymph nodes, things of that nature. She's not terminal. That's the good news. She's not terminal, so there's treatment options, and we're investigating those. And of course, she knows I'll be by her side. Autumn is my best friend. I'm not, she is my best friend, and I love her more than a lot. So more than some,
Right.
and it sucks to know that she's suffering. But she's an amazingly
Yeah.
strong woman, and she's accomplished amazing things, and she's a fighter, and will fight this. So, uh,
Yeah.
but we're
Well,
just waiting
if
for
you
it
ever
now for.
need me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I know. I appreciate that. Um, and so we're just waiting now for the biopsy to come back so we can figure out what type of cell it is, so they know how to target the treatment. So,
Right.
but yeah, I love you too. And don't
I
make me
love you.
cry. I don't want to cry.
Uh, uh,
um,
uh,
yeah. So,
I
but
will start to, so
no,
don't.
no, I know. Yeah. Well, and she'll be back.
Yeah.
She'll be back. This show isn't the
Um,
same show without her, so she'll be back.
right.
And so we were not intending to spend the whole hour talking about Paris is Burning, but now we are basically.
Mhm.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about the movie itself, and I don't know how familiar most of you are. We recommended this movie, um, and it's a documentary made in 1990, and I liken it to sort of what I'm going to use grunge as an example because it's my generation and I understand it. But grunge had been
Yeah.
bubbling in Seattle and the surrounding areas of Seattle for quite a while before Nevermind came out, and much the same way with
Right.
Ballroom. Ballroom had been around since the 60s and 70s. There were houses more than just in New York. There were houses in LA. There were houses in Chicago. There were houses in Denver. It may not have necessarily been the same. They each had their own sort of spin or cultural take on it, but those places existed long before this 1990 movie came out. Um, well, it was filmed over a several year period in the late 1980s. And the director of the film was a woman named Jenny Livingston. And at the time, Jenny Livingston was a film school student at NYU University in film school, and she was close to the end of graduating. Before that, she had attended Yale, where she got an undergraduate degree in photography from Yale. And she became enamored at some point while at NYU. She was not part of the ballroom scene by any means, but she found it,
Okay.
and she
Right.
she was enamored by its creativity and its color and its just larger than life aspect, and she decided to document that scene. Um, at the same time, behind the scenes in a different way, Madonna was also gaining access to aspects of ballroom, one of the particular categories, specifically the voguing category, through her dance partners, through the people who were working with her on her dance routines and through her choreographies so she was becoming aware of that aspect of the culture through her dancers. She did not
Did
participate. I'm sorry.
did any of the people from Paris is Burning dance with her? Willie Ninja or anybody like that?
I know Willie Ninja had quite a career after, but I
Right.
don't know whether exactly she ever appeared. He ever appeared with. That's a great question, which I don't know, and that if only there were a
Okay.
handheld device, I could look it up.
Right. Well, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, normally I would do that, but no. Autumn right now should be laughing because she knows I never do that. Um, but yeah. So but Madonna was also experiencing that sort of. I'd love to know actually whether Willie or Pepper had any actual appearances in any of her videos or any of her shows. I know she wasn't or they weren't in the Vogue video, if I know that correctly. I think
Let's see.
maybe
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Dance
wrong.
with Madonna. Most notably, members of the House of Extravaganza,
Oh, extravaganza.
including
Okay.
Jose, yeah, Jose Gutierrez Extravaganza and Luis Extravaganza Camacho. They were featured as dancers and choreographers in her iconic Vogue music video. Uh,
Great. Good deal.
and then
Okay.
joined her on the Blonde Ambition tour.
Excellent. That's wonderful because one of the criticisms that and we'd mentioned this during the green room area. One of the criticisms was that Madonna sort of took the cultural aspect and feel of ballroom and Vogue and took a lot of trophies for it, so to speak, but didn't give back to the community.
Right.
And so obviously, if she brought up some of those dancers and innovators with her, then possibly she did more than I understood. But the reason I bring that up is because this is a predominantly African American culture. This is a Latinx, or African American culture, and here it is being sort of explored by a 28-year-old Yale graduated, Yale educated white woman who's making this documentary about this scene that was about to explode possibly anyway. But it was certainly a life that existed for a long period of time. And so what is that life? um, so there are comparisons in a lot of ways between ballroom and drag. Both have house mothers, both have children. How they perform or what they're performing for are different. They're both, I would argue, both political, of course, but there are differences in the responsibilities. But in a way, I guess. So houses in, let's use New York where the movie is made, were ways for young queer people or gay people. At that time, they wouldn't have used the phrase transgender, though a number of the performers would fit the category of transgender or would claim to be transgender after or later, but it wasn't a common way to refer to oneself at that time. They would have just referred to themselves as women or femme queens or queens. They didn't make the distinction between being trans and trans women. They were just women. And that's a lot of the ways that you'll find older drag queens refer to themselves too. They're women. And I'm going to babble a lot. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
If you have, I mean, I want to know what your feelings are too about the movie. And I'm so sorry, but I'm doing a lot of setup, I guess. Go
ahead.
So these houses, I tried to see if I could analogize it to like a fashion house, like horticulture and stuff. But you can't really do that because they're corporations and mega, and
right.
Ballroom is very street. It's very punk in that way. I guess I'm gonna use that. But it's very street level. It's a representation of a community at the street level, primarily of people who've been kicked out of their homes, possibly, or that they were misunderstood, and they found this community within queer culture and within ballroom. And ballroom are they're competitions. They're in drag. We have our pageants, and in ballroom you have balls, and they are how the houses compete against each other. I don't want to liken it to gangs because they aren't gangs. They're obviously, a house mother isn't into a criminal enterprise. They're just trying to put on the best, look. But they have that familial found family aspect that you don't see in some other like hip hop dance crews. It isn't necessarily a found family. It may be friends who dance together and maybe call themselves a found family, but they didn't necessarily kind of, I would say, work the same way. And a drag house works that way too, in terms of a house mother and her children. But and so what we have here are just an overview of some of the houses involved in the late 1980s within the ballroom scene in New York City. As again, there were other houses across the United States. There were other houses that did balls. It wasn't just confined to Harlem. But of course, that was the most famous scene that had the most legendary people, one could say. And so one would compete within various categories. So a ball consists of various categories, and the categories primarily are realness, runway, face, and vogue. And each of the categories had specific ways in which you would compete and win. For example, realness category, and this is where I wanted to make some sort of contrast with the concept of passing. The realness category, the goal was the performance of fitting in. It was the ability to pass. So the category would be, say, executive realism. So you would have to dress as an executive and look as if you were able to pass within an elevator full of executives going up to, and so there was no voguing involved within the realness categories because it would break the reality of trying to look real. And so you could have the categories like, realness stewardess or, realness student, realness doctor, realness, and you had to convey and present that realness in a way that was a performance that would be judged then by the judges and of course the audience. Um, it is not, in my mind at least, and I'm going to just talk about passing from my perspective, which, as a person who probably will never pass, um, is more a safety thing. I wish, when I wish to pass, I wish to pass for safety reasons so that I can walk to the grocery store and not have to worry about something. And and so there's a difference, though both would be considered possibly by, being judged. The ramifications of losing at a ball are far less than the ramifications of losing out in public, um,
Right.
and
Right.
the realness of passing. But and it's not performative in the same way. Being oneself and being seen as oneself is different than showing one's capable in a performative setting of passing as or being
Right.
real is different than when it's but so but realness is in that way a similar category in terms of you are trying to present your look, your image, your presentation as real to whatever that category is. Um, and so in the movie, there are a number of different realness categories that they show: schoolgirl, military realness, things like that, where the goal is to look like you belong as a soldier. That you can
Right.
pass or whatever. I'm not going to say pass every time, but um, and so
Right.
those are
Right.
yeah. And those are some of the categories. And what I've always found most interesting about this movie is not necessarily the categories, the way it describes shade or the way it describes reading. Um, all
Yeah.
wonderful, and the personalities within this movie that they
Uh,
are so larger than life. It's so amazing.
right. Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, but it just it captures a time period for these performers, these houses, and it's real life. One of the most heartbreaking for me is the scene with Venus, Extravaganza from the House
uh,
Extravaganza, and
uh,
Venus is the light skinned blonde haired. I believe she's Latina, but and she talks about in the movie what her hopes are, her dreams are of how she sees her life, and then she describes during a segment about how the girls make money, sort of her dating and how that works, and then how she had to climb out a window, and so it's a hard life that she's describing, and that she has these dreams and hopes, and then we come to find out sort of at the end of the movie that she was actually murdered during the filming of the movie. She was strangled to death in a hotel room, and and no one was ever found who committed that crime. The movie doesn't do a very
right.
good job of telling us that at the end. It tries,
I
but
think they said
um,
she was
I'm sorry.
strangled and shoved under a bed in a hotel
Yeah,
room. Is that what
she was missing for a number
Yeah.
of days. Yeah, but and the
That's
person who killed her was never found. But it's that part of that work that she may have but so there is realness in this movie too. It's not just
yeah.
but it examines this culture of I want to say self help. What is it? Communal help. What's that term called? I'm I'm gonna from now on, because I don't want to say senior moment. I'm old. And I don't want to say I'm having a senior moment anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that when I have a senior moment, I'm going to say I feel like my edible is coming on, and that's going to, I think, be pretty good for the community I live in. So whenever I have a senior moment, I'm secretly going to just say, "Oh, I think my edible's coming on," and you'll know what I mean.
Right.
um, but, yeah. So there's this aspect of looking out for each other in order to build the best house so that you could compete and win at these balls, because winning gives you prestige and it gets you street cred and fame, and it wouldn't get you a lot of money, but it could potentially get you I don't know, known. So those houses were primarily about. I'm gonna like it to drag for a moment, and I don't, because I quite frankly I had a very brief experience with ball and when I was on the street. So um
Okay.
and so I
I
don't.
have 0 experience.
It wasn't the same back then, like I said, and it was in a different city, so it wasn't by any means the same. But um,
Right.
in drag, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Um,
No, go ahead.
oh,
No, I just
oh, I'm having my edible is coming on. No, um,
my
um,
animal's coming on.
now I don't remember where I was. I'm so sorry. Um, so
We were talking about drag and
yeah, okay. Shoot. I'm discombobulated as all get out, knowing what's going on. So it's yeah. I appreciate you bearing with me. So thank you, and I appreciate really you coming on short notice to do this. Express. I really,
no
really appreciate that. So
problem. Always, always,
um,
always.
so so in drag houses, like a drag mother would help put you in paint you, put you in your drag outfit, and teach you how to dance, teach you how to move, teach you how to walk, teach you the art form of drag. Uh, and 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 house mothers in ballroom would do the same if they needed to do that. But there was also the aspect of putting a team together for the competition. And drag, though competitive at pageants for is more of an individual sport. So
Right.
but at the same time it's it's and it's for the performance of drag versus the categories in the performances of ballroom. So but they are intersecting, they're cousins, they come from the same aspects and places. And certainly drag was a part of both and vice versa, but or in ballroom and vice versa.
Right.
But primarily the way ballroom is known today, now it still exists. It's still out there. It's still quite the underground culture, and not as underground as it was
Mhm.
back then. But it's still definitely a living part of the culture. And so just like drag is. And so, but it's changed. It's more fluid, I guess. People being interviewed in the movie who talk about what it's like and give their impressions of what the culture represents and how it works and why it is. Um, there is also Dorian who's somewhat pessimistic sometimes about some of the way it's changed. And in her memories of the way it was when in the 60s and 70s when drag performance was more about glamour and looking like a showgirl from Vegas or something like that, to the more street version of what runway was by the time of this, or what ballroom was by the time of this movie, and how the looks had changed. And part of that was also what happened in voguing, in Vogue categories, where it would. I mean, people were already doing drops and dips and things like that already in that category, though it was primarily the hand movements,
Right.
but and giving poses, but the dramatic flair and aspect of Vogue categories lended itself naturally to those dips and to those certain poses and things like that. And
Right.
as it's changed and become what it is today, that's certainly a part of both drag, stunt drag, and part of voguing are the death drops as they would be in drag, or
That
but but so the dance aspect has been there, but has changed. It wasn't necessarily as athletic. Well, it's always been acrobatic. It's always been dramatic, but it wasn't
it's always
necessarily.
been dramatic. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, serving looks and serving jade. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the way I do it, but voguing was a battle.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
houses
Yeah.
competing and battling against each other and serving shade, it's a competition, and it's a fierceness, and it's so.
Right.
I think that this might not work very well for
May not
competition. Who
work.
knows? Realness dork. No.
Right.
um, but so I could do realness. No, anyway. But I certainly don't have the talent to do any of the dance competitions. But there were other
Yeah, neither.
competitions too. There's categories for face, bone structure, things like that. And then there were categories for runway, and runway is similar to high fashion runway. It was to strut that runway and to just shine and give um, and serve looks and all that fun stuff. But realness was always my favorite kind of category, just because I was enamored by the concept and its comparison to passing. So and I don't have any dancing talent, so I can't
Yeah.
really. I mean, I can do this, but that's not anything.
Right,
I
I
can,
can't do any of the, like, box or whatever that's
uh,
called because, like,
I
the
can do
knees and
one dip.
can't.
I can do one spin and dip,
Okay.
and it's a slow spin and dip, and then I have to be helped up.
Right.
So I do it rarely. But anyway, but it's the idea behind this culture was that it was percolating and it always existed there, and and in different cities, and at least from the 60s and 70s, and then Jennifer Livingston, Mrs. Livingston, I presume, comes in and sort of films this culture and this group of people, and makes it even larger than life, because that same year that this movie comes out, Madonna's Vogue song comes out, which skyrockets the already suddenly spotlighted subculture to stratosphere levels with what she did with that. But I'm happy to see that, unlike grunge, which once it went stratosphere, really kind of burnt out, died.
Right.
The ballroom still exists, it's still around, and it's still thriving, and more so almost in some ways than it was back when this movie was made. And it certainly got a lot of attention. Some of the people were made into stars. Not a lot of them lived long enough to enjoy that stardom.
Right.
But it's an interesting movie. It's an interesting slice of a life that most people would not have been exposed to, quite honestly, if it hadn't been for Jenny Livingston. Though she did sort of profit enormously from it in a way. So, well, not profit. And she's still alive, and she still makes movies, I guess, my understanding.
Well, I think when I read, the issue was that she didn't really compensate any stars very well.
Yes.
And that's where the issue was.
Yes. And so my research was different, because I assumed that of the Madonna side of it. But I was under the impression that Madonna took from the culture but didn't give back in any way, shape, or form. But you corrected me of that.
And and she actually, Willie Ninja was actually on work with her too.
Yeah. So. And Willie Ninja, I'll say, since Willie, he was a Vogue category star, and so really advanced the dance, the fluidity of the movements and the movements themselves. Really, he was and so it makes sense that he would be the one invited to go dance with Madonna. Legendary. But it sounds like Jenny Livingston was the one who was less giving back of the community after the movie became a hit. Yeah, because she did create, she did continue to make movies. Like I said, then a lot of the subject matter of her movies was about identity. So she continued to. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know that. Anything that I may have seen, or
no? My understanding is that they were short films, and unfortunately, I didn't write down any of that. And I haven't seen them either, so I was surprised to see that she continued to make filmmaking. I thought for some reason she had stopped, but because I hadn't seen any other movies from her that I was aware of, but I wanted to check that. But and she is still alive. She's 28 years old when she made the movie. That's got to be exciting to be 28 in college, just graduate from film school and have an Academy Award-winning movie.
Right.
But anyway, so it's I highly recommend it. The movie's language regarding us and how we fit into society is dated, quite frankly, but it gives an interesting window into a subculture that, like I said, had existed for quite decades before this, and then helped compel it, along with Madonna, to stratospheric levels, and most people might not have even known that. I'm sorry.
Right. No, I think at some point I heard the term transsexual. I thought they said transsexual surgery. Now, I could be wrong. And then she said, because now I'm a woman, know, I got my transsexual surgery, which was interesting, because I knew that when I came out, it was transsexual too. I didn't realize it was that far back.
Yeah. So I mean, the term transgender was coined in the 50s, but it wasn't really in common usage until much later. So, but it wasn't exactly at street level at this time period, and so the idea of a T slur or a transsexual certainly were known by the late 1990s. I mean, Rocky Horror was out well before. So
that's true.
So just that alone, if we did, but and other movies, so in the the way that they would talk amongst themselves about who they just were women, or they wanted the surgeries, the medicalization aspect of it, in order to complete the picture to be women, and that's not the way that it's talked about commonly now necessarily.
Right. Right.
But and so that's an interesting aspect too. I have a movie that's been recommended to me by a friend that was made in the early '70s, I think, with Raquel Welch. Um, and a bunch, but it also has old language, and that's the reason why I don't want to watch it. Is I'm not really fond of the old language. So, but
Is it a specific gender type of movie, or
I'm
is
gonna
it just
get it
a
for you.
okay.
1 second. Let's get it.
Yay!
Why not? I'll show
Okay.
show and tell. We'll
Okay.
do a show and tell. Um,
Yes. Uh,
all right. Okay. So this is I'm a little ooh, wow, that's wild. Look at that hair. Um, okay. Um, so this movie was given to me as a gift from a very close friend of mine, who I appreciate.
Okay.
And it wasn't meant, I mean, I don't think it was meant as like a slight or anything like that, but it's definitely a movie that's not, I guess, well known. Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't
Right.
even opened it yet because I don't own a DVD player. But it's called Myra
Oh,
Breckenridge. Um,
I have heard of that. I
yeah.
don't know anything about it.
Yeah, let me read you the
Let me
back since
write
you
it
have an
down
idea, because
tomorrow.
I might recommend it for the next movie. Who knows? Um,
Okay. Okay.
but here's what it's about, and this has got an incredible cast. First of all, Gore
Okay.
Vidal's novel gets a campy
Oh,
translation in
yeah,
this
yeah.
controversial film. After a surgery in Europe, Myron Breckenridge, played by Rex Reed, returns to the United States as Myra, played by Raquel Welch, insisting that she
Okay.
is the widow of Myron. Before too long, she enrolls in acting school and becomes under the tutelage of Buck Loner, played by John Huston. I love that name, Buck Loner.
Fuck.
Um, and meets talent scout Letitia, played by Mae West, which is cool too. Um, though
Yeah.
Goff,
Yeah.
not surprising, though Val Gadot, or excuse me, though Vidal disassociated himself from the film, it garnered attention for its star-studded cast. Tom Selleck makes his first ever screen appearance.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Farrah
Okay.
Fawcett plays a lesbian that falls for Myra.
Wow.
I had her poster on my wall. An unabashed embrace of its subject matter, which was considered very risque at the time. And this
Oh,
was made in 1970. So certainly
okay.
the concept of transsexual was well known by the
Right.
80s. But the
Right.
concept necessarily of what transgender meant and who transgender people were wasn't necessarily common vernacular yet at that time. Uh,
I wonder how transgender came to represent,
yeah.
people now as opposed to transsexual. When did that change? And what was I guess when people hear when I hear transsexual, it usually, I think, and this may be where people think like
Mhm.
medicalism and all that, but I do think that, transsexual, you were trans Right. You
Yeah.
were having
Yeah.
surgeries,
Mhm.
it's more of a medical type of thing as
Sure. Yeah, I
opposed
agree.
to where transgender can, encompass more people and more beliefs or
Yeah.
more ideas about gender.
Yes, I mean, it certainly follows that one can be transgender and never have a surgery because various reasons, whether they, don't want to, can't do it, don't, whatever those reasons are, they can still be transgender if they're transgender.
Right.
Um, and so, and the medicalization scares me in terms of, um, of, people requiring it, like in Iran before we went to war there. If you were gay, the state could require you to have surgery to change your sex, and that's
Oh,
why one of the before the war was one of the best places to go if you could put up with the government for surgeries because it was affordable and they would do it a lot. It's
right.
horrible because of how come they do it a lot, but
Yeah.
but it um, and but I would hate to live in an environment. Well, first of all, I hate to live in a place where they were going to outlaw me and make me, to get rid of my medicine
Right.
to begin with, which we're
Right.
currently in the
Right.
middle of. But
Doc up.
but to also live in a society that would force you to medically transition or detransition scares the fuck out of me. Um,
Right.
and
Well,
so
we are in that.
yeah, they're
So
certainly setting us up for that. And
they're already doing people in prison that way.
yeah,
Uh,
I
so
I I will not go back. I
No,
spent
neither will I. Neither
yeah,
will I. Well,
yeah, yeah,
I'm yeah, no,
yeah. Death
I'm
before
done.
transition is a cliche.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not going back.
Oh, yeah. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you 100% on that. I've
Hmm.
always, I
Hmm.
stood 10 toes down on this idea that, this is me, and it took too long for me to understand this and then to do
I
something
center.
about it.
Yeah,
Before
yeah.
I wanted to, in my life multiple times, many times,
Oh yeah.
and like I tell everybody, transition made me want to live,
That's
I
yeah.
chose transition so that I could live,
Right. Yeah.
and,
And
and now that I've still going through it, I'm not going back. I have no reason to.
yeah.
I've already told Egg, and I told my family, so
Right.
they all
Yeah.
uh,
Um,
uh,
yeah, I spent mine basically living in a bottle, right? And red alcohol.
oh,
I
right.
mean, I killed myself slowly. I guess that was the plan. Um,
Yeah, so did
but
I.
yeah, and so I certainly understand. And my transition was certainly the best thing that I ever did for myself. I consider it standing
Wow.
up for myself. I finally said, to hell with that.
Right,
And I've never been happier. I've mentioned that numerous times. And I find it extremely dismissive to us as transgender people to focus so much on a minuscule number of the population who were
right,
not happy with how they ended up.
right,
And to erase the 95, 98, 99% of us who are living our best lives thanks to this procedure, because 1% was unhappy. I don't see anyone
right,
out there getting rid of knee surgery. That's a 15%
right,
regret rate.
you know? Yeah,
I don't see anybody out there saying get rid of boob jobs because it changes a person. You know, this is an attack on our health sciences and the medicines that we need that make us feel better and make us who, you know, live happily the lives that we've been given, the one life that we've frickin' been given.
no,
And to take that away from us is certainly not the most disgusting thing I've ever imagined, but certainly a violation of one's human rights. So,
I
um,
you know, I posted a meme several days ago, and it was the same type of thing, regret rate of surgery, and
mhm,
it did have, like, boob job, it did have knee surgery, it did have, like, hip replacement,
right.
and and then it said, transition, gender affirming care, like,
Mhm,
some way sky high number, like 95%, 85%,
mhm,
89%, 99%,
mhm,
and they said if that was some other issue,
mhm.
it would be considered a miracle that it was
Yeah,
that high of a percentage.
right.
Um,
They would be like they'd be getting Nobel prizes. Like they cured
right,
99% of the people who had this
right,
issue with this procedure or this medical course. Right.
right.
Yeah, it's insane.
And yeah, so it is pure unadulterated hate.
Mhm, mhm,
I don't I I don't sometimes I question whether people um are ignorant or if it's just they're just hateful.
mhm.
Um and
Yeah,
if it's just that they're just hateful, that is harder to accept than
mhm.
being ignorant.
Yeah,
Um,
if you're
so
absolutely right, if it's embedded in hate, you can't educate them out of it, I think. They're
right,
just gonna
right,
dismiss everything you say, the
right,
statistics, the science, the lived experience. "Oh, you're just insane. Oh, they're all being paid by some conspiracy that wants to make every." I mean, they're gonna find excuses not to listen to any of your points.
right.
The stupid people, to say it kindly, you know, maybe think that they're trying to I don't know. I get a lot of people who tell me that they don't know or that I don't know my own life, and that they're going to try and tell me how how I'm wrong and how I can get on the right page so that I can make it back
Right,
to the normal that I obviously should be. And that's
right.
very offensive. But
It is
yeah.
extremely offensive.
But you can work
Yeah.
with that. You can work with that.
Right,
You
right,
can kind of call into question some of the presuppositions, whether they'll actually you can lead them to water.
right. Now whether they'll drink is,
Right, yeah, right,
right,
but people
right,
who hate you will be like, "Fuck your water, I don't care."
right.
So yeah, yeah, uh,
Right.
but but, Yeah, so I know what you mean. I have that internal struggle too. I will see comments and I'll think, is this just somebody who hasn't done um good night, who hasn't experienced trans people enough, or is it someone who's never met
Right.
someone who's trans, or is it someone who's, given into the hate and just wants to target? I don't know. But
So I wonder, of the other population, not the population or the number that supports us and knows about trans people, but
mhm,
the small population that, I wonder at that point, is it ignorant, like amongst the people, not amongst like
yeah,
elected officials and
mhm,
administration, because we already know,
yeah,
that's just a, but I wonder like the farmer in Iowa, or who I wonder if they just don't know trans people, and meeting a trans
yeah,
person and having that
yeah.
experience would change them, or
Well,
if they willing to
mhm.
change. You know,
And these are not questions. These are questions that were asked by Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. How do we get
right,
the middle class to wake up and look, and how do we get the almost willfully ignorant, or the people,
right,
to recognize what's going on? And that was their struggle too. So and I don't know. It took, unfortunately, for civil rights, it took the assassination of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
and
Most
right,
definitely Martin Luther King, because before the
Red
assassination,
Hampton, yeah,
yeah, before Martin Luther King's Jr.'s assassination, the popularity of the civil rights movement is approximately where the popularity is right now of trans rights. And so
ooh,
once he was assassinated, of course, there was a different, but we're in good company, so to speak, in terms of struggle.
right,
They've
right,
been there, we're there, and they came out
right.
only to be rolled back again. But we can. I firmly believe that we can go. We can do it too. You know, I'm not
I
giving
do.
up. I know. Fuck that. I'm not giving up. Nothing.
Oh
They
no,
can't scare me
no,
into not being me. Fuck that. They don't have the
no,
power, the strength to be able to
yeah,
make me be anybody else than who I am. And um,
right.
so and um, so fuck them.
I don't know.
Sorry about that. I don't
Yeah,
know where I went with that,
it's
but
kind of well, no, it's kind of funny that people would think that, like, I don't know, even if even if I was in prison and they
mhm,
took away my hormones,
mhm.
it's not gonna change my
No,
mind,
I'm still
I
trans.
know who I am. No,
Yeah.
I'm trans, yeah.
Mhm. Now you've just tortured me by
So
taking away the medication that makes me happier,
right,
makes me more
right,
comfortable with who I am.
right,
It's like taking cancer care away from, a kid who has cancer, or something like
right,
that. All you're doing is just
right,
making the patient worse. And it's
right,
founded on the presupposition. The problem is that the presupposition, just like with gay people, that it's a choice or a sin or whatever it
right,
is.
right,
The science supports our existence. And up until the most recent study from 2025 showed that we might actually have a genetic component. They did a study on twins, and both fraternal and paternal twins, and were noticed that transgender experience more likely to occur in one set of twins than the other. Of course, there's a difference between the
right.
types of twins, and that was a 2025 study. So the science,
Okay.
was coming out even up until now, but we're
Right.
not that big a population, and because we're not that big a population, there's not a lot of
Right.
science going on. To horribly
Right.
use what's going on with autumn right now, cancer affects a lot of people. Gender dysphoria does not
Right.
affect a lot of people. And so
Right.
there's no push to do a lot of science on people like us. We get it where we
Right.
can and how we can. And those people who do give this or do this kind of science, going back again to using autumn as an example, the normal internist has 1 hour about us in medical school, and so they're as
Right. Right.
unfamiliar with who we are as the average citizen to some extent, though they have the medical understanding to go, life is weird, but they still have those sort of phobic aspects to the and so spending a lot of time with autumn at the with various specialists who are not specialists in the area in which we normally receive treatment, we're as alien, and that's why our community has issues with the healthcare industry and outside of our own
Yeah.
healthcare, because
Yeah.
they see us as crazy just as much as the average citizens, most, some of I've certainly had a few nurses who've been very, very mean, with
Yeah.
microaggressions, etc.
Yeah.
But um
Yeah.
so there are class distinctions, of course, within the trans community, and there are healthcare reasons why we are afraid of the industry, which is why we don't seek the healthcare that we need when we need it. And this current political environment is not making it any better. And so it's just
No,
another
it doesn't.
aspect of
No.
that little sort of like marginalization and and extermination of us. Making all of the things that we need to survive, whether it be a paycheck or our healthcare, any type of healthcare, because we're afraid of it. Is yeah. There are a lot of people who are going to die, I'm afraid. A
Yes,
lot of people are going to suffer over the
100%.
next few years,
$100%.
and it's all because of people who won't pick up a fucking book, and that sickens
Right.
me. Um,
Right.
and then they claim
Uh
that when they do pick up a book, that it's paid for science, that it's some propagandist science,
Right.
which is
That's where I have the problem, is it's
yeah,
willful,
yeah, yeah,
just lies and deceit. I am positive they know what trans people go through. They may have
mhm,
trans people further down their line in the
yeah,
family,
yeah,
it's just like, what's her name? The Supreme Court justice who has
mhm,
black kids who
mhm,
voted to send all the Haitians back to Haiti,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah,
make
yeah.
it make sense.
No, and Clarence Thomas
Yeah,
voting the way he votes always shocks the fuck out of me too.
right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
mhm,
I
yeah,
he's one of those people who just didn't say much for the
mhm,
longest time, didn't do anything with his voting, and
mhm,
waited until it became ultra conservative, and then just became this,
mhm,
the complete dick we all knew that he was.
yeah. Yeah, he was
Uh,
famous for never
and
asking a question during oral argument. Never!
right, right,
For
right,
years. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden yeah, um, it's very strange, and I've likened the experience of where we are with our medicine right now is to RJ Reynolds, and I use this analogy too often, and people are really familiar with it, or I should stop, I don't know, um, uh, but once RJ Reynolds was the largest cigarette manufacturer in the world, right? They were a huge corporation. They were in every at this time they didn't really have 401ks, but they were in every like pension plan, etc. And then this, the American Lung Association and the American Medical Association go, oh, by the way, we think cigarette smoking causes cancer. And of course, RJ Reynolds, this blue chip stock, panics. So does, and then all of a sudden we find doctors who are suddenly like, oh, the science is not quite, it doesn't mean what they say it is. And, who's writing those checks, I wonder. And then we have this
Right, yeah,
20-year debate over muddied science because RJ Reynolds didn't want to fucking give up, making the cash cow. Um, and
right,
and so and that in a lot of ways I analogize to what the Heritage Fund did when they needed this issue was to put out a bunch of junk science to say that the waters are muddy when the waters weren't
right.
muddy. The waters, I
They
mean,
were
we had
never
very little
muddy.
science anyway. And so it's not like they're spending
Right,
billions of dollars on us, but they made it sound like it's like this $1 billion industry to get kids and crank them out when that's not what
right.
it is at all. We are a
0.
minuscule part of the population. Um,
Mm,
you know, yeah, little itty bitty.
right.
And so they misrepresented our care and our healthcare and made it sound as if through this muddying of the science, as if there was just this massive machine out there to crank out trans kids. And that's why a
Right,
lot of right wing pundits, when there was that malpractice suit in New York that came, where she won award, a medical malpractice award for transitioning, detransitioning for a lack of informed consent. There were a lot of right wing pundits were saying, "Oh, we're going to see this wave of mass detransitioner lawsuits and medical malpractice lawsuits."
right,
I'm still waiting for that fucking wave that you promised
right,
repeatedly and used as memes repeatedly for months to materialize. And the reason it isn't going to materialize is because we're not like you. This
right,
care helps us,
right,
and I would have stopped if it didn't. I'm a fucking adult.
right,
And
right,
your child would say they don't want to do this if it wasn't helping them.
right.
If they weren't reporting positive things to their caregivers and to their therapists and to their parents, then they would stop. Social transitioning happens first. I am on a fucking high horse, and I'm so sorry.
I
I
like
am
it.
mad at the
I
world.
like it.
I am mad at the world right
I
now.
like it, yeah. No, I like
But
it.
so, and then
It
all of yeah.
everything
Go ahead.
everything you're saying
I'm
is
sorry, Rob. Sorry.
100% correct, yeah,
Well,
no, everything you're saying is 100% correct.
uh,
Like,
it's mhm.
it's gonna just kill it's gonna kill a lot of
Yes.
people.
Yeah. Whether it kills them outright by violence in the street, or it kills them by not providing the health care that they need, or whether it kills them by excluding them and making them afraid to leave their house or to go get that health care that they need.
Right.
All of it combined, it is killing and hurting people. And of course,
Right.
we continue to be preyed upon by those who prey upon us. So, I'm extremely I posted a video about what the trans pride march at San Francisco and the police reaction to that, and how the video that I stole from used a thing at the beginning that said, how it used to be, and it was people marching down the street, and it looked very colorful and fun, and then how it is now, and with the police presence and the batons and the shoving and the pushing, and that would not happen if not for the government pejoritizing, or turning us into the pejorative and demonizing us and making communities afraid of us. And of course, we get the usual, you're a groomer, which is just insane. But
I will never understand that. No, especially when there's just no evidence to back that up. When all the evidence points elsewhere.
The call is coming from another part of the house.
Right.
But circling back to the movie, and I don't mean to cut you off, OnyxRose, but circling back to the movie, these houses wouldn't have to exist and be found family for these kids and these young people if it wasn't for the fact that they weren't kicked out. They're not grooming your kids; they're saving them from the fucking streets rioting. They're giving them a way to see the world and survive in the world and passing down knowledge that there's no grooming here. There's survival, and that's because the rhetoric has placed us in that position where survival is all we have. So, all right, I'm mad, and I'm sorry that I took it out on the audience. I'm very sorry, but thank you for putting up with that too. I didn't mean to. Thank you, OnyxRose, for being here. I really mean it.
I enjoy your conversations. I definitely enjoy them. Thank you.
Well, I enjoy your conversation. I enjoy spending time with you, and I didn't let you talk at all.
You know what? I would rather you talk.
Well, I appreciate your generosity in holding space for me in this trying time. So, but yeah. Next week, I'm just going to kind of switch gears and just, next week, I'm reaching out to someone who I'm hoping to have on the show as a guest, not as a host, but as a guest, who is an expert in gambling and gambling addiction, and will come on and talk about the various forms of legalized gambling and sports betting that's taking on, and she'll talk about her experience with what gambling did and how she's an activist now to make people aware of the dangers of predictive markets and sports gambling and things like that. So, I'll have Kitty Martz on hopefully next week as a guest, and then you're more than welcome to join too if you like it.
Thank you.
I think it'd be really nice. I think it'd be wonderful. I'm hoping. I'm hoping Autumn will be back too. But OnyxRose, I would appreciate it if you could join us. That'd be fantastic.
Definitely.
But again, I'm still trying to iron that out. So, and then I am going to say, for what the heck, I'm going to watch it. I guess I'll figure out how to get a DVD of this. But Myra Breckenridge, I do have how to play a DVD.
YouTube. YouTube.
It's got to be somewhere. Yeah. Oh, I should. Yeah. I made that joke last week when we were talking about the movie that Autumn and I watched. I was trying to be funny when I was suggesting that we pirated this movie and she did not appreciate that joke at all. There was like a moment of silence where she looked at me like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah. Wow. Okay. Timing. But anyway, so it's yeah. But I'm sure I can find it somewhere. I'm sure you can find it somewhere, and we can, and we'll talk about Myra Breckenridge, and we'll talk about Raquel Welch and Tom Selleck and Farrah Fawcett, and it'll be really funny. But it will be a lot of that language of transsexual, the T-slur, all that kind of stuff, and the medicalization aspect of being a woman, or becoming a woman. But yeah, it'll be interesting. A slice of different time. So hopefully it won't offend anyone. But yeah.
I would one time, if you want, I would like, because I love Boy Meets Girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do that one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I was going to
Uh,
put you on the spot and say, "Hey, you pick a movie," but I didn't want to do that one
okay.
just in case, but yeah, if we could do Boy Meets Girl. You want to do that the
Yeah,
week after, just in case?
yeah,
Because I'm going to
I'd
have
love
you
to.
often. If I'd like to have you, every week along with Autumn, and stuff like that. If that's okay, if you have the time
Yeah,
for that, I
I
don't
would
know how
love
busy
to.
you're. Saying
Oh,
we
yeah,
were going to talk about
definitely.
this after
Yeah.
the show, but I guess we can talk about it now.
Well,
But if you would,
yay! No, I
yeah,
would love
yeah,
to. Yeah,
yeah, I
I would
think
love
yeah,
to.
it'd be fun to expand the paddock a little bit. But and that would yeah, I think that's a good plan. Thank you for agreeing to do that. And from yeah,
Oh,
I
you're
didn't mean to hit
welcome.
you up on
Thank
the
you for
spot like that.
asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my pleasure.
Uh,
It's always wonderful to have you here. And so, I guess I'm just gonna say, Autumn, I love you, girl, and get a good night's sleep, and I'll call you in just a few
Love you,
minutes.
Autumn.
Yeah.
Uh,
And um, is there anything that you're doing next week? Are you with Wendy or next week? Or are you
so
doing
actually,
Sturge?
I'm
Or
not. I'm not
okay,
doing trauma talk anymore.
okay,
Yeah. So I'm not doing that. I'm actually
uh-huh.
starting to write again on Substack.
I saw that. Yeah.
So yeah.
Hmm.
I'm not actually writing on Beehive anymore. The formatting of Beehive, which I didn't
Hmm.
do my due diligence and I didn't
Hmm.
really check it out. I thought I would be able to just write, and you
Hmm.
can just write, but it's a newsletter format.
Oh.
So that's where you really get the most out of it. It's by newsletters and placing ads and doing
Mm,
all this. And I was just, I tried and it wasn't
yeah.
my
And
size
it sounds
of
like work.
stuff.
It sounds like work.
But
Formatting.
I don't
Oh my
have,
God.
yeah.
No, not for me. I could barely format a document. Um, yeah. Um,
Right.
so no, I'm glad that
But
you're
yeah, I
back.
don't have
I'm
any life.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
thank
glad you're
you,
back.
thank you.
I'm glad you're
But
back. All right. Well, how about Sturge? Are you still doing stuff with Sturge? Or
yes, yes, me and
okay.
Serge are talking about a time to get together, and
Hmm.
actually, he wants to do something with you
Oh,
if
wonderful.
you're
Yeah, love that.
willing. Yeah,
Yeah,
we can get
yeah.
them and
Hmm.
me.
Yeah.
They are non-binary. They use they,
Hmm.
he pronouns.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, he would like to, he would like to do something too. But yeah, me, Sturt, and Brandon
Hmm.
is okay. Brandon Elrich
Yeah. I want to be in
should
his
be
cooking show.
really. Yeah.
I want to make a pie with Brandon. That would be hilarious. Just quiz him about what he's
So,
doing while he's making it. Yeah, I like Brendan a lot. He's fun. Yeah,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah. You've got a good.
they're
Yeah,
both
yeah,
great. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
so hopefully we'll be back sometime soon. Maybe not this week, but next week.
Okay,
With
good, good.
those two. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I would love to do anything you want with those guys. So yeah, I'd love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, all right. Do you want to? I love your closing. So I'm gonna
Okay.
yeah, it's 7 to 5. So if you want to do the closing, I would happily join in with the fingers. My favorite part.
Okay. Okay. So it's no trash, no transphobia, no racism, no ableism, no sexism, no homophobia, no Islamophobia, no xenophobia, land back.
Hmm.
What do I say? Reparations,
Reparations, no
no
border.
borders, fuck cancer,
Oh,
fuck
fuck
Trump,
cancer. Fuck Trump.
fuck ICE.
Fuck ice. Perfect. Perfect.
Very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to talk with you, Onyx Rose. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week
Likewise.
with Onyx Rose and possibly Kitty Mertz
Yes.
and possibly Autumn. And we'll talk about gaming. We're going to go gaming. We're
Yes.
going to gamble or not gamble. We're going to talk
Yes.
about how dangerous it
Thank you.
is.
No, because I was not very good
Yeah. Oh,
gambling. No, I can't gamble
no.
anymore.
No,
No.
I can think of about a billion better ways to throw my money away. Um,
Yes. Yes.
but people, it's on the rise, and it's so much easier to get to
Right.
now. And
Right.
and the government's making money off of it, so they're not, through taxes and all that, sin taxes and all that kind of stuff. So they're not going to get rid of it. It's funding schools, it's funding lotteries, it's funding. Um, so and it's just preying on people. So we're going to talk about that. I've just given my 5 cents or 2 cents or 1 cent, but.
So I went to Las Vegas twice.
Mhm.
One time I lost all of our money,
Mm, mhm.
and Egg won $1,000 in the airport right as we were
Wow.
about to board the
Yeah.
plane.
Oh my
So,
God.
like, she literally saved us. Like, I didn't know how we were gonna get home
Yeah.
from the airport.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
It was
That's bad. Yeah, it was that close.
I can't. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So I am not one to be in a gambling
mm,
arena or anything like
mm.
that anymore. I
Uh,
can't. No.
my youngest was enamored by the lotto machines that they would have in grocery stores sometimes. You know how kids are when they see colorful things, whatever it is. And he would always want a lottery ticket. And I was like, no, it's wasting your money. It's throwing your money away. You know, you'll learn. It's throwing your money away. And so, but after being badgered and badgered and badgered, and he had birthday money and he wanted to buy a lottery ticket. And so I was like, I'm going to teach this kid a lesson. He's going to burn $2. It'll go away. He'll never, and he'll know
Oh
that
no!
yeah, you see where it's going. So,
Right.
um, follow me for more parenting advice. Uh, anyway.
Right.
All right. I'm going to say goodnight. I love you all. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being here. And we'll see
Bye.
you next week. And love you. All
Yes.
right. Bye bye. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.